Hey guys, chilling on a podcast. Social distancing because it is cool.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to whoever and wherever you are. My name is Harry Barr. This is the 27 podcast, and as always, I'm joined by the wonderful Ben Butler and Joscel Manarambona. Guys, how are you?
Woo. I'm a different man, I tell you. I am.
Different man?
Oh, God. I tell you what. I just feel, I don't know. Last night, I was just jamming out in my kitchen. I felt good. I just feel good today. This morning, I've woken up. I just feel good, which is odd because this week's been a bit of a dull, but I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go back to Oxford next week with the boys.
With the boys.
We're going to get to see each other again.
After how long? Like what?
Fun.
4 months?
Yeah.
Oh,
we haven't been in the same room since
we have, since lockdown started, we have had our summer holiday in this period. So technically, when we go back next week, it would be us going back to you.
Yeah.
But
technically,
we still got another 2 months essentially off, which is just ridiculous. And I don't like it.
You don't like it. Don't like it. No. Plus, we would have had Goodwood in this time as well, so we would have actually already seen each other as well at this point.
Yeah. Would have seen each other, and we would have
done so much. We would have been in Spain.
We would have been
graduated. We've done so much.
But alas, here we are. But you have to think of it. Would we have started a podcast? Most probably not. So,
That's true. That's true.
Got to think of.
So you can thank COVID for this wonderful podcast you're listening to right now.
Yeah.
You guys. Yeah,
That's about it. That's all we.
Yeah, that's the only good thing that's come out of it. Right, okay, guys. Without further ado, we're going to be going straight into our nothing to watch. Which this week we've decided to watch the incredible stage production of Hamilton. And it was filmed back in 2016 and released on Disney Plus just last week. And for me, I think it's probably one of the best pieces of art I think I've ever seen. What about you guys?
Absolutely. I mean, I've heard nothing but great stuff about Hamilton. Hamilton, when people think about Broadway musicals and theatre, they automatically think Hamilton. And I was like, okay, at this point, I haven't watched it before. I've only listened to the soundtrack and I knew the background to it and stuff. Literally 5 minutes in, I was, oh my God. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Literally from the get-go, I was incredibly just in it. It was incredible.
Yeah, well, I remember...
I love it. So firstly, I love it. But I think it's an interesting thing what you just said then, because you said everyone that thinks of Broadway or, the theatre thinks of Hamilton. You go back 2015, that was not the case. And I don't know if everyone... I think it's definitely taken the world by storm. And so a lot of people know it. But obviously there's, for younger generations, you probably would say so. But definitely for the older generations, like pre-Hamilton, it was all about, Your Name Is, the Phantom of the Operas, and Wicked and
Mamma Mia,
and the reason why Hamilton exploded like it did is because it is not a traditional musical.
Exactly.
And that is why it is amazing. It is amazing, but it is the fact that it was something completely different. And that is why it has done so well.
I've since watching it though, I've watched countless interviews and fact videos about the production, and in one of the interviews, Lin-Manuel Miranda says it's quite interesting actually, because it's a play where it's a stage production about a revolution, but done in such a revolutionary way that it's different. So it's got the hip hop, it's got the R&B, it's got the jazz, it's got it's got so much different and completely changing the Broadway landscape. So the fact that I found as well was if Hamilton, if it was played at the tempo of the average Broadway musical, so if all the songs were sort of I dreamed a dream of da da da, rather than the million words a second, it would last over 5 hours. It would take over 5 hours to get through, and it's just the tempo. I think the tempo is one of the reasons why I was so engaged with it for the 2 hours 40 minutes. I think it was.
Yeah.
For me though, it's I love musicals and I love the theatre, but I will go see I'll go watch something like Singing in the Rain. I love Singing in the Rain. I think it's such a musical, and everyone knows Singing in the Rain, like especially this song. I'm singing in the rain, like like that. But like,
Oh, lovely.
and I can jam out to that. But like Hamilton, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, I feel like I could put it on in the car and we'd all jam out to it rather than just like belt it out because it's a show tune.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh yeah,
but you've got like in terms of the soundtrack, like it just. Every single song literally takes you on an emotional roller coaster. Like you can say, you can have songs you can absolutely jam to and like be like, whoa. And then you got songs like Satisfied that just brings you all the way down again. You're like, oh, it just makes
Burn
you feel.
as well, like
and
Quiet
Burn.
Uptown.
Oh,
Yeah.
it makes you feel emotions that you just wouldn't imagine. I was like, what?
Yeah, well, since watching the thing on Disney Plus, I've listened to the soundtrack all the way through twice, and then I've also like cherry picked my favorite songs. So, Guns and Ships, Satisfied, the Battle of Yorktown as well in particular, and Right Hand Man, I think it's called. But like just some of those songs, which I just love getting so hyped up by. But equally, like I spent all day yesterday pretty much looking for grad jobs and whatnot, and I just stuck the soundtrack on in the background, and before I knew it, it was the final duel, and I was like, oh god, because it got that a cappella bit where Lin-Manuel Miranda's basically going through the whole show again, like just a cappella, like going ba 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 through each song. I was like, oh my god, I've sat here and listened to the entire thing.
That was incredible.
Yeah,
that particular scene as well, how that was orchestrated when it got the shot and the kind of like showed the slow motion whilst going through the whole thing.
Do you know what I read? That blew my mind? Okay,
what?
You know that lady that does the
bullet
thing? Yeah, the bullet. So if you go back and watch the whole thing again and watched her specifically, her character is deaf. So she is there when death occurs every time. So the bit when Philip Hamilton dies and the bit before, and he's like, how about we get down to our socks? She's there and he's flirting with death, and then he goes and dies.
Yo!
And then she's the bullet that kills him in the end as well. Like, when I read it,
by the way, spoilers for this true story.
What? I was like, that is unreal. I think we need to talk about the cast, because the way that he cast everyone into those roles, and what is so great about them is they were all pretty much, other than Lin-Manuel, were unknown actors and actresses. And I tell you what, they just put on a show. I'm in love. I have my movie love, my TV love, Lily James, and now I have my theatre love, Philippa Sue. I'm literally smitten. I tell you, I every time I watch her, I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. It's so funny.
It's interesting to say, because I've been watching on Disney Plus as well, there's like a roundtable discussion about how the show came to be, and I think it was Leslie Odom Jr. who plays Aaron Burr. He said that they were like, oh, how did you find out about the show? How did you how did you get the part? And he's like, I managed to get the very last seat in the very back row of the off-Broadway production of the Hamilton mixtapes, which was basically like the pre-Broadway, so it was like pre all the fine-tuning and everything. It was literally just like essentially like just one act, I think. So just that first act, and they performed that. And he said, I was blown away seeing, because he was talking about how there were 4 people of color playing the 4 main characters essentially all the way through. So from Alexander Hamilton, Lafayette, Hercules, I can't remember all the names, but and like George Washington.
The only white person in the show is the king, especially in the original. Yeah, and that obviously was done on purpose, and it is so well done.
He said, like, I was watching it, I was like, I have to be in this. So he tried his damned hardest just to try and like everything to get into the show, and he managed to get it, and then he ended up winning a Tony for it because his performance.
And then he was right. This is what I was about to ask.
Yeah,
if you were an actor or an actress, so it doesn't matter about the gender, okay? Which character would you play? But then, who is your favorite character?
Oh, I think I quite like to play Lafayette. I think because again because I was watching like analysis videos and stuff, and I actually went back and listened to it all again. And when he starts, like it's very obvious that he doesn't quite know English very well. So like, you know, when he says like anarchy, he says onaki instead of anarchy. And then by the end of it, and like, and he raps like with the cadence of like the traditional like 1980s hip hop rappers. And then by the end, he's rapping double time or triple time. And like, he gets like 16 words in 3 seconds or something, I think, in Guns and Ships. And it's just, I'd love to play that character.
Also, fun little fact about Lafayette. He was obviously really instrumental in the American Revolution and then in the French Revolution as well.
Yeah.
Imagine being alive to be like massively influential in both. That's it. But who's your favourite character?
Probably Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
Interesting.
That's a shout. I would personally, thinking back after watching it, it would be David Giggs's character, both of them, when he was playing Thomas Jefferson.
Literally one.
Yeah. Like during that little duel sequence when they were in trying to convince George Washington, when it was him and Lin-Manuel.
The rap battle.
Little rap battle scene, right up my street, right? It was just sick. Oh, look, that would have just been cool. I just love his character as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
He was really cool.
Is he your favourite as well, then?
I would go as far as say that. Yeah, he's my favourite.
I will say, I think I know who you're going to say is your favourite character, Ben, and I think you're going to say the King.
No.
Oh really?
Ooh.
Oh, I did absolutely love how the King.
When I first listened to the soundtrack, I really didn't like the King's parts, but the part of the King is the comedic part to it, and you don't get that from the soundtrack. So
that's true.
When I saw him, my whole opinion changed. My favourite character is George Washington.
Oh no, no, fair enough. Yeah, he had an absolutely fantastic.
I love his songs, I think, and But if I was to be an actor and actress, the character I'd want to play is Aaron Burr. He's the star of the show.
Oh yeah.
So he's the narrator. It's the story pretty much through his eyes.
Yeah,
and Leslie Odom Jr. puts on arguably the best performance I've ever seen in that production. When he sings, is
it My Time or
in the room where it happens? That whole performance of him, but everything he does on stage is so good. I generally watched it and I was like, that might be the best song I've ever seen performed. Like he was fantastic in it.
Yeah,
so good. But I think if you were any inspiring actor, you'd want to play Aaron Burr because his character is just obviously like the focal point. And it's interesting because when Hamilton came over here as well, and it won Olivier Awards, Aaron Burr won the Olivier Award as well. Rather than, it's funny that Hamilton isn't. Obviously, it's the show about him, but he's not.
He's not the
star.
Well, think about that. Like Aaron Burr does introduce every single main star. So I think he introduces how does a orphan son of a
he tells the story.
Yeah, he tells the story, and it's like every one of those songs he introduces like him, Lafayette, George Washington, and Thomas Jefferson as well. And it's just I think it is interesting because looking back at how I think it was again I was watching a video and analysing it, and how in Amadeus it was Mozart versus his contemporary, and like Mozart obviously won all of the accolades, but when they made the film and the stage play, it was the guy that played his contemporary that won all of the Tonys and the Oliviers and the Oscars, which I think is quite interesting. How like the one that's more successful in real life is the one that doesn't quite do as well at the award shows, which is interesting.
What are your opinions on Aaron Burr and Hamilton? Like, what do you actually think of them as characters? Obviously, it's like a portrayal from one person.
Yeah, I was about to say it's.
What do you actually guys think about them?
I think it's difficult to say because again, like, it is a fictional, interpretation of something that happened 250 years ago, and
but it is based off the biography.
Yeah.
It's true, pretty much. The whole story is true.
But I think it's difficult, but I do think that Hamilton. I don't know. It's very strange. Let me try.
He's a selfish arsehole. That's what he is.
Yeah. Hamilton was in there for his own self gain, but to be fair, he did modernise, the treasury.
100%, but he was an arsehole.
Yeah.
He, in the end, I like Burr, but he should have backed Burr.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason. He literally didn't back Burr just to spite him.
Yeah.
And that is what I think sums him up as a person. Like, amazing, he did all these great things, but he was an asshole. And like, how could you do that to Eliza? Like, she's literally like this amazing, and then becomes this amazing philanthropist. And I just
see. It was the how could I say no or whatever. I think that's the song. And
I actually hate that song. That song and the Reynolds pamphlets are my least favorite ones because I hate the fact that I know it's destroying someone else. Like the fact that he wrote that pamphlet for his own gain rather than his family's. I think that just sums it up for me. You're
so like obviously it's like when I was editing I think it was when I was editing the 80s workout videos that should already be out by now. I was watching a lot of Drunk History because I do just I like to watch it just in the background. And on YouTube, it's just because we've been watching lots of Hamilton stuff, it suggested all this stuff like on Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, and all that. So when he did the Reynolds pamphlet, all of his friends were like, "Don't publish this. Like this is going to destroy your personal life. Like do not do it. Like just for the gay." And it even destroyed his political career as well. So it really put him into a bit of a shit situation. And again, you said he did it purely for selfish gain, and he just I think he just assumed he knew the better of it. Like, you know, they say throughout the musical, "Oh, you're writing like you're running out of time." It's like he just couldn't stop writing. He couldn't stop himself from going further.
But that is amazing though. Like when you actually go back and listen to it, the amount he wrote, he literally lived his life like this was going to be his last day.
Yeah,
and I wrote down and I'll Google it. There are some lines that really hit with me. So the first one is. Legacy, planting seeds in the garden you don't get to see. How true is that?
Yeah.
Like you can set your lives to be whatever you want. You could think you are doing the best thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to grow. People might not ever come to your garden and have a look at it.
Yeah. Well, it was like all of them, or all of their point of view was like, we know this is the birth of our nation. We need to think of what history will think of us. We need to set this up to be so grand. For history to because this is going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years down the line, thinking it doesn't really matter what we do. I want this to be a successful country because we've been under British rule for so long.
And then I love the line when I first heard it. I genuinely think I paused the soundtrack because I was like, this is so true. Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. I think that is actually one of the truest things I've heard. Like, it isn't it amazing how, you always hear that adage of like, why did good people always die first and things like that? Well, there's no, that's just life, isn't it? Like, there's no, that's not a thing. That just seems how it happens. And I was just like, that is.
I'll tell you what, if I ever meet the actress that played the lady with the bullet in Hamilton, I'm running away. I'm not talking to her any much. I'm like that.
I also love talk less,
smile more.
I love that. I think
that entire technical structure needs to be done.
I think
it just, but I think also, I mean, to get in briefly at the end of this discussion, is just like the set design as well, and like how they had the revolving stage. Which I've seen a few musicals with that. So I've seen Warhorse and School of Rock that both had the revolving stage, but I've never seen a production utilize it so well, and like the passage of time. And I think I read. Aaron Burr always walks in straight lines because he doesn't see any other option. He just goes straight in that direction. Whereas Hamilton would walk in an arc. He always walks in arcs because he would look at every possible outcome, every possibility. And like even in their final duel, you see Aaron Burr walk straight to it, and then like you see Hamilton walk around in an arc to finally go to his spot because he's thinking of all the things he could do. But yeah, it's just the set design and the direction.
Do you think, from a director's perspective, they think about all these things? Like, think about
100%. Yeah, everything.
Like those are very intricate details.
The scream that Eliza does at the end, that wasn't originally in the script, and then people ask, "Oh, what does that scream represent? Does it represent her going to heaven? Does it represent her seeing like Alexander for the first time, seeing Philip for the first time, or does it represent her seeing the audience and realizing that her legacy is being shown. And they simply said back, they were like, it is Eliza to decide. Whoever plays Eliza, every actress has a different opinion on it, and it's their choice. And because there's been a lot of criticism actually of Hamilton since it's come out, especially in the way, since it's been accessible to everyone. And people are saying, well, they're glorifying George Washington, who was actually a slave owner.
Yeah.
Yes, but actually, in the very, very final thing George Washington does.
Oh, yeah.
So there's this bit, he's behind Eliza, and Eliza speaks about how she creates a monument to him, and he's like, she remembered me, or something like that. And then she's like, I speak out against slavery. And George Washington was a slave owner. And the way Christopher Jackson, who plays George Washington, showcases that is he realizes, so in that final moment, he doesn't want to, he's obviously a black actor as well, so he doesn't want to just glorify him. So he kind of like, the last thing George Washington does is actually takes a step back, and he kind of sinks and is like, oh my gosh, yeah, I was a slave owner. And then he like bows down to Eliza to say, well done on speaking out against it.
Yeah.
So like there are all those like
subtle details.
I think it's quite funny. You can watch a single character the whole show through, and you would find out different things that they do. I've been lucky enough to see it on stage as well. Sorry, I just want to leave at this point. And on stage, it is amazing. Do not get me wrong, and it is amazing. But the thing that makes the film so good of it is because you get to see all their faces up close.
Yeah,
and I think that's so different.
Expressions,
like, yeah. Like I don't get me wrong, I had good seats for the show, so I you obviously can, but it is so different seeing like when they're like holding Philip, and you don't get to see that from where you're sat in the theatre.
That's true. So I think, Ben, what you're saying to take away from this is we all need to go and watch it again.
Oh yeah,
multiple times.
I've watched it 3 times. Yeah. It came out on Sunday. It came out last Friday, and it was currently Friday.
So you watched it 3 times.
You need to watch it once, and then you need to watch it again, and then you need to watch it with headphones, because I watched it last night with headphones, and it's a completely different experience. But you also need to go see it live, because it was just, and it's also nice to see different. That's what is so great, in my opinion, about the theatre is if you go see a show twice and it's different, a whole different cast, you will see 2 different performances. Yeah, and that is what makes it so good. The Aaron Burr I saw had a really raw and rough voice. So Leslie Oldham, he's very, like when he sings Dear Theodosia, that's one of my favourite songs. But when I went and saw Aaron Burr do it live, I didn't like it that much then, because his voice, in my opinion, didn't suit that song. In some of it, he was better, and and that's why it's so good, I think, because you're going to see all these different interpretations.
Oh, fair enough. Anyway, but so
I love that. I feel like we could talk. I literally feel like we could talk about this the whole podcast.
Yeah. We might have to do a Hamilton special again, like in a couple of months after we watched it again. So this is what you need to go, guys. You need to go and watch the watch the production on Disney Plus. Then go and watch all the behind the scenes interviews and roundtable discussions, and then go and watch it again, and then go and watch it again, and then watch it live, and then be in Hamilton. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to take away from this.
Anyone fancy a pint?
Our next guest caught my attention when I first walked into the drama studio to find his bleach blonde afro standing out amongst the crowd, quite literally. Having spent 2 years of pure joy and fun together during college, it was about time we got him on the podcast to talk about not only his own podcast, but also his acting career and his experiences at the Fringe Festival. When he's not breaking hearts on stages, you can find him hosting fantastic parties that usually lead me to passing out or causing havoc. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Dorey. Mike, welcome.
Welcome, sir.
You're such a flirt, Ben. Thank you very much.
Mike, we have a good relationship. Don't forget about those 2 years together.
I dream about it at night sometimes and wake up in a cold sweat. It's an ongoing problem.
It is amazing to think, like, the first time we did meet was in drama, and we all had to stand around in a circle, and we had to use alliteration for our names. So we had to say, so I said, my name is Ben, and I like balloons, and you had to act out what it was. So I just had a little, thing. But that's so weird to think. What was yours?
I think it was marshmallow. I don't know.
Yeah, just little.
My name's Mike, and I like Mike. It's such a weird.
Such a weird icebreaker that then, like, turned like we all then. If you actually look back on it, we all became such good friends in that group.
It's very easy to bond in a drama class, especially it was a
Yeah.
smallish class. It was probably about 15 of us. It's very easy to bond in that in a classroom setting like that because you work with each other immediately rather than when it like in English, I knew the people sat either side of me, and that was basically it.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to bond with people like that. Yeah, for sure.
I tell you what, like Harry and Joscel, you won't know this, but drama, I tell you, it was the best 2 years of my college were in the drama studio, and I think because everyone's really like open and stuff, exactly as Mike just said, like you get to know each other so well.
Yeah, for sure.
You get to know each other too well, and you'd be so open and whatnot. And then we went on, one of our other friends, Jake, who Mike is really good friends with. They've gone on, and we'll talk about this. And they've gone on to do Fringe Festival and stuff together. He wrote this play called The Babushka, and in second year, somehow he pitched it to our drama department and the college, and they were like, "Yeah, go ahead, put it on."
Yeah, sure, we'll give you money to do this play. Yeah.
And it was I loved doing it. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved doing it. And Mike is a very good actor. Who did you play? Lennon?
I played Lenin, and also I played a character called the Judge. So I did a bit of multi-rolling, which was lots of fun.
I played this guy called Mikhail, and I died. And Mike, we actually have just come off talking about Hamilton, and I would love to be in musical theatre, but and Mike can vouch for this. I had to sing in this play we did. I sang
10 green bottles, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100,000 green bottles sitting on the wall.
And
it was so bad. It was so scary as well.
It was an experience for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. You shouldn't put yourself down, Ben. You were wonderful.
I mean,
Joey said that whilst laughing. Yeah, he doesn't mean
you were great. Yeah, pretty good.
Can I say something really weird? Just a little side note about this play. But I went on. So we did the play in December, and then come the summer, I met a girl and I started going out with this girl, and it turned out before we'd even met each other, she went and saw this play that I was in. So she'd seen me sing and act before she even knew my name, and then we ended up going out for a year and a half.
That's what it was. That was the hook.
That was it.
You must have been good. You must have been good.
It took her a while. It took her a few months to decide whether or not.
Just let it a bit. Our Ben, sing 100,000 green bottles again for me.
Maybe that's why. That's why it didn't go so well in the end as well. Maybe that was the start and the end. Sorry, man.
Wow. Okay.
Oh no!
So we finished college, and we went off. Well, I went off to uni, and you were pursuing a career in acting. And you got yourself a little advert. Do you know the one I'm referring to? I think you should tell everyone about what you've starred in.
Well, I mean, my goodness me, what an adventure you're about to go on, gentlemen. The one piece of telework I've done. It was the first thing I auditioned for professionally, and it was a Domino's ad. It's the height of fame and power within the acting world, and I got a bit smug, to be honest, because it was the first audition I ever did, and they were like, "Yeah, let's go," and I was like, "Yes." Hasn't gone that way since. I'm just gonna like that.
I think DiCaprio got his start in Domino's ads, actually.
Do you think?
Yeah.
It was. I basically had to. I turned up on location at, I think it was 10 a.m. or something. I sat in a trailer with the other actors till about 2. Then we had lunch. We had makeup and costume, and then at 4 o'clock, 5 hours after I'd arrived, we got driven to set, and I sat on this sofa for maybe half an hour, and then I went home, and that was the whole. That was my whole day. And do you know what
how long do you actually star in the advert for?
I think the entire ad is about 11 seconds long, and I'm probably in maybe, if you're really looking, if you know I'm there, I'm probably maybe 4 seconds of that.
Wow, that's almost half. You know?
It's almost it's the most glorious thing, but it's just the nature of that sort of thing. I mainly do theatre stuff. I've done a bit of filmy stuff. I did an indie film in November, which is yet to be released, and I don't know if I'm in the final cut, so I'm not going to go ahead and say it goes like what it is. But you know, I've done some bits and bobs. Thanks for highlighting the Domino's thing, though.
That's right. I remember you telling me that story, and I thought it was very funny.
Domino's
but yeah,
story
as you said,
is
you do a lot more theatre work, and you've been really lucky to Fringe twice now, or three times.
We've done Edinburgh Fringe 3 times, Brighton once, Camden once.
Wow.
So obviously Edinburgh is probably the one that sticks out most to people. I think it's the most prevalent. Go on then, tell us what your experiences are like from when you first did it to maybe the last time, and how it's all changed and whatnot.
We definitely learned a lot along the way, I'll tell you that much. I mean, when it was shortly after we did the Babushka, which you spoke about earlier, Jake and I got chatting, and Jake had this grand idea of, I think, basically taking over the world. And he spoke to me and another friend of ours, Tapua, and the three of us sort of co-formed what was then Campfire Stories Theatre. We abandoned that name fairly quickly because we decided it was shit. And so we did, but we did our first Fringe, and we auditioned, and we gathered a few other people, and we went up to Fringe. We did the whole month first time round, so we were there from the 1st to the 27th or something, and we did every single day it's possible to do performing at the Fringe in our venue, and by the end it's amazing. It's impossible to describe the cultural melting pot of the Fringe. There's all sorts of stuff going on there. But after a month, we got home and we were like, we want to do that again, but not for a month. It's long.
I can imagine. I can imagine that being like feeling long. I mean,
because you do a show a day for however long you're there, 25, 26 days.
Yeah.
I don't want to butt in, but I just remember something else. So I actually auditioned for this play, didn't get it. That's fine.
Yeah, you did.
But obviously, as I just said with my previous girlfriend, the first date we went on was to see this show in its preview in Winchester.
Oh my God.
So, Mike, you've actually played quite a large part
What can I say?
in my relationship.
I didn't realise this. I didn't realise it was your first date. That's crazy.
It was.
That's a budget date, man. You could have done better than that. Tickets it's a 1-act play. Tickets were like £5.
It is not about the money spent. It's about the experience.
it's not where, it's who.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely. We couldn't talk for an hour or whatever it was, so that was it.
Yeah.
No, sorry, go on, Mike.
So we did the first year. Second year, we decided to do 1 week at Edinburgh, 1 week at Camden, and then we decided that's great, but we haven't really spent enough time in either place. Third time round, doing different shows every time. A few companies sort of recycle their show year on year, but we don't like to do that. So third year, Jake and I did a 2-man show at the Brighton Fringe for a week, and then we took our big show, our most recent one, Space Junk, to the Fringe last year, and we spent, I think it was 2.5 weeks in the end, and that was the sort of perfect amount of time, especially at the beginning, because by the time you get to week 4 of the Fringe, people have started going home, frankly, and actually the Fringe from now, had it gone ahead this year, which it isn't, because I don't know if you know this, but the world's been ending. I don't know.
What? Sorry, what?
Yeah, sorry. Some
insider knowledge.
Some bad things have happened. But they decided to reduce the Fringe into 3 weeks instead of 4. So it was going to start on the 7th, I think, and then go on to the end of the month rather than starting earlier, which I think was probably a good shout. But it's not happening this year anyway, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
But I think it's also worth, like, people probably don't know this, and especially if you go to the Fringe. But you guys are camping the whole time you're there.
We did last year, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, last year. Oh yeah, first year.
I just assumed
Jake's parents in here.
Yeah.
But it's so expensive. It is so expensive to get an apartment or anything there.
Yeah.
And if you think if you're there for 2 weeks or a month like you did the first time, you would be paying, you know, probably over $1,000 for.
Oh,
definitely. Definitely over $1,000 for, you know, just to rent somewhere.
That's fair.
Now, I've wanted to go to the Fringe, just you know, like to go see it, but I don't have an issue getting there. But when you actually get there, like, places are so expensive, especially because they can just increase the price.
Yeah, exactly, because there's so much demand. Yeah. No, there's something I watch a lot of comedy, a lot of stand up. I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts. I've always wanted to go and watch a show at the Fringe. I'm a big fan of James Acaster. I know he goes every year. Yeah. And you've got other people like that, and it's just. Is there like a sort of a sense of sort of community of all these sort of comics and whatnot and sort of, because I know there's more like street acts and stuff as well as just sort of plays and stand up shows and stuff. Is there like that community feel there whilst you're performing and everything?
Yeah, for sure. And you will, as you quite rightly mentioned, you will bump into people that you recognise off the telly. It happens more often than you think, especially during the peak times. There was I can't remember what year it was. I think it was the second year. It was really rainy because it's Scotland, and I was walking up the high street and I had my umbrella, and there was this person walking towards me, and I got jostled in the crowd. And I accidentally poked this person in the face with my umbrella, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm really sorry." And the guy was like, "Oh, it's okay, mate." And I looked, and it was Eddie Izzard, and I was like, "Fuck!"
Oh wow!
No, I just stabbed Eddie Izzard with an umbrella. What have I done? It was, but yeah. So, and there's you see people just wandering around in the street in cafes that you recognise on the telly. So many people. I think Jake met Billy Connolly in the first year.
Oh wow! That's
wow!
Cool.
Which is just it's insane. So it's not just there's the big acts, and then there's smaller acts like us, and we all get to make. It's great. It's fantastic.
What's the best thing you've seen there?
Oh God, it's always the smaller experimental batshit shows that I love, because the Fringe and festivals like it is a great opportunity for people to just put on anything, and maybe it'll work and maybe it doesn't. And walking into a small theatre, sitting down and not knowing if the show you're going to watch is going to work or if it's going to be shit. There's something really, because there is some, I'm not going to lie, there is some shit at the Fringe. There is some like awful stuff. It's mostly amazing, and it's all part of the experience. But the best thing I've seen at the Fringe, there are some big headliners. There's Shitface Shakespeare, which is relatively It's the idea of that is basically however many classically trained Shakespearean actors, they do a abridged version of a Shakespeare play. So the first time we saw them, it was Romeo and Juliet. The catch is one of the actors, different actor every night, has got blackout drunk before the show.
Wow.
And so one actor in the cast is completely shit-faced.
Yeah.
And they come on, and the other actors just have to sort of try and deal with it.
Wow.
And it's the funniest thing. And they give like drums to people in the audience. So if people in the audience think that the actor isn't drunk enough, they can shake the tambourine or whatever, and the compere comes out, freezes the show, makes them down a drink, and then it carries on. And it's
that's incredible.
Seriously?
Oh,
it's amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing. And they do stuff all over the place. They've got like 4 or 5 different branches.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, I've seen them all about. I think they're quite popular in London.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, for sure.
Are you going to continue to take stuff on to the Fringe?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the plan was to do another big show this year and then take a hiatus year. But what's happened is this has sort of become our hiatus year.
Yeah.
So our break year has sort of happened by accident. So I think we're just going to keep going. And Jake and I, there's loads of big shows that we want to do, but there's plenty of scaled down stuff. And we want to do revisions on shows we've done before. The 2-man show we did in Brighton, we want to do again, but sort of adapt it slightly. Space Junk, we kind of want to revisit it at some point, but redo it and introduce new characters and maybe streamline it a bit more. But yeah, that's
exciting times ahead. I mean, that's so interesting. It's such a different world that I think so many people are obviously aware of the Fringe, but it's nice to have you come on and talk about what it's actually like. So we move from the Fringe and then move to, I just want to briefly talk about this because, so you work at the Theatre Royale, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And obviously, the theatre close to your heart, the Nuffield, and one that I've been to many times down in Southampton is closed. And I mentioned it last week. And it's obviously really, no, you never want to see a theatre close. And so Oliver Dowden's come out and he's, pledged 1.5 something billion to save all art, not, specifically theatre and all art. Do you think that's enough? Do you think, because the Nuffield's still closing, isn't it? It's not coming back because of that. And I, personally, obviously, when you look at it, it's a large sum of money, but I don't think it's going to be enough to save the majority of theatres. It might be more of a minority, but yeah. Mike, what do you reckon?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think there's, it's amazing that some money has been put in, but what you've got to remember is I think a lot of people have sort of thought, yay, theatres are saved, but that's not the case, because the arts and it includes like heritage sites and museums and galleries and things like this. So it covers all sorts of places other than live performance. So when you actually spread that out across everything, it's actually not very much. And I sort of mentioned this elsewhere, but I do get why the arts wasn't on the top of the list. I do get that. Like that, I do understand that. But at the same time, the economic advantages that the arts bring into the country and indeed worldwide are huge. So to save as many of these, especially independent businesses, independent theatres, smaller performance spaces, to save them in turn saves or goes towards saving the local economy of whatever community it is. Yeah. And the other side to it is we don't know how long that money is going to take to appear, because like everything else, they announce something and we're like, great, but it's not till like a month later that stuff actually happens. So there are plenty of places that have already folded. There are plenty of places that will fold before this money comes out. And when the money comes out, there's no way to know how will it be distributed. Will the West End theatres be
exactly. The West End is surely going to be prioritised over other places, and it's not going to be it's definitely not going to be an equal share to everyone.
Yeah, I would assume that West End would, because that is like the crown jewels of the British theatre. Yeah. So I would assume that the money would go there first.
Yeah. Well, I think probably a West End, then to Edinburgh, because the Fringe, the Fringe bring in internationally, and then sort of like they divvy it up between cities or whatnot. But like I live in Lincolnshire, and there's about, I think, 3 theatres in Lincoln, and I think all of them are at risk of closure. And Lincoln isn't top of anyone's list, and they're going to be miles down. And I do think a few of them, if not all of them, might close, and it is a really, really sad thing to be losing, sort of an important part of sort of British culture, essentially, adding to the arts. And it really sucks.
So Mike, along with all the acting,
what can I do
and the work that you do, you also have a podcast as well. You are you are our first guest that has come on from another podcast. So that's one to put on the list. Yeah, a first collaboration.
Synergy. We just need to fuse the podcasts into one.
Unlimited
so yours
power.
Is...
Sorry. Sorry about that, guys.
So yours is the Hippy Dippy Podcast.
Well remembered, yes.
And you do it with your friend Beth, is it? Beth?
That's correct. So Beth and I, we met because we both work well. We ended up working in a few places together, actually, just by coincidence. But we first met because we both work at an escape room in Winchester. Oh, wow. So that's where we met. And the day I met her, she told me that my aura seemed to be a bit funny. And I said, excuse me, bitch, what the fuck? And it led on to quite a heated discussion about star signs, and I basically told her she was wrong, and she told me that I'm too stubborn to accept anything else. And over time, a beautiful friendship blossomed, and we basically came up with this idea of doing a podcast where she presents me with bullshit, and I then tell her that it's bullshit, and she tells me why I'm wrong. And we have
that's gold.
And we have a sort of debate about what could be real and what isn't. And it's not always things she believes in. Sometimes it's some wacky thing she's heard of or knows people who, and she researches it a little bit, and she comes at me with, did you know that the moon is related to witchcraft? And I just sort of die inside a little bit. But the basic premise is she presents me with some hippy dippy nonsense. I tell her she's wrong. She tells me I'm wrong. We talk about it. We have a general chat and a catch up. It's quite a casual, sort of candid.
Mm-hmm. It is, and I've listened to a few of them, and your most recent one was around Doctor Strange and that film. Yeah. And I thought that was an interesting one because clearly she had. I don't know. I can't tell whether she actually enjoyed watching it or not, but she clearly, and exactly even. Oh, obviously, I didn't know how it started, but you know, she talks about yoga a lot, and she seems very like with the mind and the soul. Yeah. And I was like, it was a nice, very zen, exactly.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, she speaks in a very calming way as well, and it was interesting. I enjoyed your discussion on it and things like that. And so, do you record every week? What's your?
Well, I mean, our schedule is somewhat all over the place. The original plan was to do one like every 2 weeks. So we started in very end of January, I think. And we were going to do one sort of every 2 weeks, and then like life stuff gets in the way. So it's a very sort of loose schedule, but we're sort of going back to the once every 2 weeks sort of a deal. Over lockdown, we did nothing for like a month and a half, and then we were like, maybe we should do something now because we haven't done anything.
But you have, because there's someone else, Alex. Is he your producer? Is he?
Well, sort of.
Because
so Alex,
you've got some really good equipment as well.
So, Sound Monkey Alex Sermon, as we refer to him, in the group chat with the three of us, I am male talent, Beth is female talent, and Alex is Sound Monkey bitch man. That's the.
I think that's the order, the pecking order, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I met Alex years ago doing a show at the Theatre Royal, where I work now as well. I'm a whore for employment. I'm all over the place. So I met him doing that. And then later on, we sort of re-met because he got a job at the escape room as well. So he got to know Beth through there, and he listened to the first 1 or 2 podcasts we did without him, and he said, "You know, I could make this sound better, you know." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I could get equipment." It was quite suspicious. Like, I can get equipment. I can edit it. And I was like, "Okay, cool." So we borrow. So his church.
Steals from the church.
So he's going to uni to study sound design, sound engineering, and so as a result of that, he's got lots of knowledge about these sorts of things. And the church that he goes to, he does a lot of the sound setup for them on the sort of voluntary basis, and they very kindly let us use their microphones. So we sit around a table with borrowed mics from the church, which is lovely. Praise be, etc. And is that offensive? I don't know.
No, that's it.
He goes, praise be, etc.
So yeah, so we use that stuff. So he sort of volunteered to record and edit for us, which was a huge weight off my shoulders because I was like, great, someone else can edit this waffle into something actually listenable. And sort of over time, he's become more intricately involved in the organisational process. And now it is a trio of us who make it, although you will only ever hear the voices of Beth and I. You will occasionally hear Alex in the background mutter some rubbish about how awful we are. But he's excellent. And he's as much a part of the... We are definitely a trio, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So is he a producer? he probably likes to think of himself as a producer, and in reality, maybe he is, but no.
But anyways, you should all definitely go give the listen. Go Hippy Dippy Podcast. It's available everywhere. So just like we are, go check it out. It is really interesting, and especially like, you know, it is. I did enjoy the last one. Just exactly as Mike says, it is Beth speaking to Mike, and Mike just goes, "Whoa, wow."
Can I just clarify? Did you just plug your own podcast during your podcast?
Yeah.
You're like, they're available anywhere as a we, by the way.
You got to do what you got to do, Mike. You got to do what you got to do.
You've got to call those listeners in, and you can't fucking let them go once they're here. You've got to
keeping them in. That's the hard graft, is getting people to stay. That's getting people to stay past the intro. That's the challenge. Anyways, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on and sparing your time with us. And, you know, I've really enjoyed it. It's been so nice to hear your voice again. I forget how much I enjoy your voice. It is. And, yeah, I tell you.
We should get together, Ben. We should.
We should. I don't know why we haven't. But no, honestly, it's so nice. And I hope we get to see each other soon as well, because, we've had some good memories in the past. It'd be nice to get, like, the whole crew back together and,
for sure.
Yeah, go on from there.
Thank you, boys. It's been a
Cheers,
pleasure.
Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Mike, obviously this isn't recorded after the podcast because we definitely didn't forget to do it whilst we were recording. But before you can go, and before we can let you become a member of the Rusty Club, we just need to know, what is your favourite ABBA song? Also, my phone is slipping a bit.
I don't know if this is too much of a cop-out of an answer, but I don't think you can ever beat Dancing Queen. I just don't think it's possible to get any better. The only other contender would be Angel Eyes, but the Mamma Mia 2 soundtrack version of Angel Eyes, Julie Waters, Christine Baranski, can't beat it.
Anyone fancy a pint?
Another massive thank you to Mike going on. Possibly one of the funniest interviews I think we've had.
Definitely. Like,
It was a great interaction.
I really like Mike. Mike is actually, especially during college, we got along so well, and it's just how life goes. Like, you obviously, some of your friendships, if you're not really close, and you lose those when you move on to new pastures and stuff. And but I have a lot of time with Mike, and every time I see him, we meet up maybe a couple of times each year, and we do just get along so well. And I generally loved doing drama, and that just made my time at college the best. And having people like Mike around there was just so great. But boys, do you know what I'm so excited for? We get to see each other next week. But not only that, ladies and gentlemen, I know we said that at the start, but we get to do the podcast together.
Exactly, yes.
We're going to record live.
We're going to see each other
in our bedrooms. No, it's not.
We're all going to sit in our own bedroom, get on a Zoom call.
No, it's going to be
I think we should do it in the garden. I don't know.
You got to think about background noise, though. You know, Ben?
Yeah, that's right. We got mics, haven't we? So
we could just be like, yeah.
And then just call our mics and call the background noise.
Absolutely.
Do you not have an on and off button?
You just don't know how audio works, Ben. This thing, I've recorded outside with this before, and it picks up wind, it picks up birds, it picks up everything.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm excited for that.
Anyway, something else, I want to give a massive shout out. He will never hear this, but it deserves recognition. Hector Bellerin, who is an Arsenal football player, he's their right back. I just want to give a massive shout out to him because he's doing this amazing thing at the moment. So since Premier League matches started again, he said every time Arsenal win a game, he will plant 3,000 trees. And
himself?
They're currently he's like going to pay to plant 3,000 trees. And I tell you what, that I think is so incredible. And at the moment he's planting 14,000 trees, and there's still a few games left of the season. But what what a man! Like that is sort of really
That's
impressive. And
yeah.
he is planting them as well. Like he's already got his first 3,000 out. And I think they're being planted in Brazil. I think. Don't hold me on that. But yeah, just like that is really, commendable, and I think that's shout out to him for doing that.
Big up Hector Bellerin.
Big up Hector,
Yeah,
man.
big Hector. Who I actually we saw him.
Yeah, we did see him. We did see him. We went to go see School of Rock. This is an episode about musical theatre, and we saw Hector Bellerin when we went to go see
School of Rock. And on our way back, we were walking to the bus because there's like a tube, Oxford tube, and this like Mercedes G-Wagon.
It was a G-Wagon.
Blacked out G-Wagon.
And we were like on Oxford Street as well. We were like, someone famous has to be in that.
Yeah.
We kind of look in the car. It's Hector Bellerin.
What guy?
That was it. We just saw him. But
we should get him on the podcast. But hey, we saw you in London once, and we shouted you out. Would you like to come on an episode?
And well, I watch you every week when you play football. So basically,
big fan.
Yeah.
Also, if we're shouting out other footballers, I want to say a massive thanks to Marcus Rashford for basically forcing MPs single-handedly to not cut those benefits for children for meals and stuff. Just what footballers doing bits basically. Yeah.
And whilst we're on the subject, then
absolutely butchered his name.
No, news reporter. That was Matt Hancock.
Oh,
the health secretary. Called him Daniel Rashford.
My bad.
He called him Daniel Rashford.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You thought Matt Hancock, the health secretary, was a news reporter?
Hey,
sums him up, really, doesn't it?
Reporting. I'm not even gonna try to judge my.
Don't. Well, I want to give a shout out.
That's disrespectful.
For those of you that don't know, I'm a massive Portsmouth FC fan.
No.
And sadly, we got knocked out of the playoffs someday. And I just have to say thank you to Christian Burgess, who we have tried to get on the podcast before. He did reply, but he said no. Anyways, he has done so much for the city of Portsmouth, and he's sadly leaving. He didn't renew his contract. He's off to Belgium, and like he's been amazing in the community as well. Like he's not just been a footballer. He's basically been figurehead of Portsmouth in the community, and he's done so much to so many people. And especially during lockdown, he was out every week helping provide food, helping to checking in on people. And what a servant! And good luck in Belgium. And yeah, that's that. I just had to say that. Whilst I have the platform to. All right, last thing I want to bring up. Okay, and then we can start recording.
Yeah.
So I was watching a video today, guys, literally this morning. And I noticed something that does happen a lot. It happens so much more than you think in things. There's a lot of Americans, okay? But they go like this. They're like, oh, okay, we're out in Oxford today, in England. Or they'll be like, oh, yeah, shout out to that person in England. I don't know what it is, but Americans do this thing where they like really emphasize the fact that they're in England or they're talking about England. Have you guys noticed it before? Because it's something that I've noticed.
On that, to be honest.
If you just watch Americans talk about England, they're like, oh, Buckingham Palace in England.
Yeah, no, the one in France. Yeah, Buckingham Palace. No,
exactly.
My favorite thing is there's two things. It's firstly when Americans try and say like Buckingham or Oxfordshire.
Buckingham,
Oxfordshire, and my favorite was Nottingham City. Or Leicester. They can't talk. But another thing was in movies. No, you go ahead.
Who's the new Doctor Who?
Oh, Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker, when she went on with some American chat show, and they were like, "Where are you from?" She's like, "Huddersfield." They couldn't spell it in the subtitles, and they had to put subtitles on for her. That is.
Oh, this is a mess. Basically, for the benefit of the audio listeners, Ben's phone just fell off and he let out a screech.
I went to stretch.
Oh my god! Oh,
Wow.
I've got a headache. I'm laughing so much. What I was going to say is like, so you know, in films when it's like Los Angeles, California. I'm like, what other Los Angeles is it going to be in? Or like, or Prague. You know, like obviously, just we know where it is. London, England, like as opposed to London in I don't know. I think it's London, like in Norfolk. Yeah, but like it's just come on, guys. Like we know where it is. We know where it is.
Yeah. Well, another good episode, I think, guys, and another good week. Next week we might. I know we have spoken a lot about Hamilton today, but we might have someone from Hamilton on the show. No! We are waiting. I have spoken to him.
Lin-Manuel!
No, not Lin-Manuel.
I expect, someone that performed in the West End, but I have spoken to him and he said, yes, would love to come on. When are you thinking of recording? So it'll either be next week or the week after, but obviously we will let you know. That is going to be really exciting. So
It's going to be great.
yeah, obviously we'll talk a little bit about Hamilton, but I want to ask him about, just what life is like being a theatre actor and whatnot as well. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, come back for that because that would be really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, again, just another massive thank you to everyone for listening. Go and check out Mike's podcast. That is the Hippy Dippy Podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, available everywhere.
We are also on Spotify, Apple, available everywhere.
Platforms.
Actually, go and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I think down in that corner, next to Ben down there on the YouTube video, there will be all the social handles, and then go and like the 27 Podcast Facebook page as well. Also, go and check out this person here.
There's over 200 of you on that bad boy.
And also go and check out Katy Birmingham, who did the artwork for our lovely logo as well.
Incredible.
So yeah, just basically thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. Go watch Hamilton. Watch Hamilton. Replay that joint and let me know in particular, and the podcast actually, what your favourite song is. Thank you. Goodbye.